Being a billionaire made finding true love almost impossible, until I finally discovered what real love truly means. Join me as I share my journey, how I found the one who loved me for me, not my money.
The notification illuminated Alexander Chen's phone at precisely 6:47 p.m. His grandmother's message contained 3 words that pierced through him like shattered glass. Tomorrow. Last chance. 12 blind dates across 3 agonizing months. 12 women who'd gazed upon him with calculated interest before their expressions crystallized into contempt the moment they discovered his supposed poverty. 12 rejections that had carved his soul into something hollow and desperate. Tomorrow would mark number 13, his final gambit, his last desperate grasp at discovering whether genuine love could exist for someone like him, someone whose wealth had transformed every human connection into a transaction, every smile into a negotiation, every tender word into an investment strategy. Alexander Chen commanded a fortune that could purchase nations. His technology empire sprawled across continents. His face adorned magazine covers that proclaimed him humanity's youngest self-made billionaire. Yet, sitting alone in his $8 million penthouse surrounded by artifacts of success that mocked his isolation, he understood the devastating truth. He possessed everything except what mattered. Nobody loved him. They worshipped his portfolio. They desired his resources. They craved the lifestyle his wealth could provide. But him, the man beneath the billions, that person remained invisible, unwanted, fundamentally alone. So he'd constructed an elaborate deception. For 3 months, he'd attended blind dates disguised as poverty itself, wearing thrift store clothing, claiming to struggle as a delivery driver, embodying the financial desperation that characterized most of humanity. He transformed himself into someone ordinary, unremarkable, broke. And he'd watched, with scientific precision, as each woman's fascination evaporated like morning dew beneath harsh sunlight. This constitutes madness, his executive assistant Sarah had protested during their last conversation. You're systematically destroying yourself, testing people who don't deserve your consideration. Just one more, Alexander had begged, his voice fracturing around the edges. Please, Sarah, one final attempt. If this woman rejects me too, I'll accept reality. I'll acknowledge that authentic love represents nothing but a beautiful fairy tale people tell themselves to endure loneliness. Because somewhere within this city containing 8 million souls, there had to exist someone, just one person, who could see past the absence of wealth to recognize the man desperately seeking validation beneath. One more date, one more test. One final opportunity to discover whether he was destined for eternal solitude. Tomorrow, at 7 o'clock, a modest coffee establishment. Her name was Sophia. Alexander didn't comprehend yet that Sophia would annihilate him, shatter every preconception, challenge every assumption, either destroy him completely or reconstruct him into something unrecognizable. But first, she had to materialize. And in that crystalline moment before sleep claimed him, Alexander Chen, master of industry, conqueror of markets, billionaire beyond measure, prayed to a universe he'd stopped believing in years ago. Please, just this once, let someone see me. Sophia Martinez's phone erupted with light at the most catastrophically inappropriate moment possible. She was submerged shoulder deep in industrial cleaning solution, scrubbing the executive bathroom of a corporate tower where the fixtures probably cost more than her annual salary. Her second job, night janitorial services. The glamorous existence of a 28-year-old drowning beneath crushing student debt. Blind date, tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'm begging you, Sophia, please. Her Aunt Carmen, the relentless matchmaker, the woman who categorically refused to accept her carefully constructed narrative of contentment with solitude. Except Sophia wasn't content. She was suffocating, buried beneath $80,000 of educational debt that metastasized with interest faster than she could accumulate payments, working dual positions that consumed her existence, days organizing books at the public library for wages that mocked the concept of living, nights sanitizing the waste of people who earned in hours what took her months. Her studio apartment maintained a persistent leak. Her heating system functioned sporadically at best. Her dinner consisted of ramen consumed in variations that would have impressed a culinary student studying poverty cuisine. Dating? The very concept seemed laughable. Who possessed time for romance when survival demanded every waking moment? Yet, Aunt Carmen had deployed the word please. She never pleaded. Something about this particular arrangement carried weight, urgency, significance. Her hands trembled as she extracted her industrial gloves, studying her reflection in the bathroom mirror that probably cost more than her vehicle. Dark crescents carved under her eyes, hair escaped her practical ponytail in defeated wisps, the face of someone who'd systematically murdered her dreams to accommodate reality's cruel demands. What constituted one more disappointment in an existence constructed entirely from them? Fine, but this represents the final one. She transmitted the message before rational thought could intervene. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock, someone named Alexander. Probably another man who'd register her worn footwear and vanish before appetizers arrived. Sophia possessed zero comprehension that tomorrow her entire existence would detonate, that nothing, absolutely nothing, would survive unchanged, that the universe was orchestrating a test she couldn't imagine, with stakes she couldn't fathom. She returned to sanitizing toilets. Because survival demanded it, because bills refused to negotiate, because sometimes dreams died quietly in industrial cleaning solution at 3 in the morning. Tomorrow felt impossibly distant. Alexander materialized 15 minutes premature, his cardiovascular system hammering against his ribcage like something desperate for escape. This was it, the terminal date, the ultimate test. If this woman rejected him too, if she'd dismissed him the moment poverty became apparent, he'd accept his fate. He'd acknowledge that authentic connection didn't exist for people whose wealth had transformed them into something simultaneously more and less than human. He dressed meticulously in his poverty costume, deteriorating jeans bearing strategic tears, a jacket excavated from thrift store obscurity, footwear deliberately scuffed to suggest financial struggle. He resembled someone drowning economically, someone ordinary, someone real, perfect. The coffee establishment's entrance opened. Time performed something impossible, simultaneously accelerating and suspending completely. A woman entered. Late 20s. Unremarkable clothing that whispered of financial constraint, exhausted eyes that suggested someone who'd forgotten sleep was a human right. Beautiful in some indefinable way that transcended cosmetics or expensive presentation. Beautiful because she appeared authentic, weathered, genuine. Their gazes collided. Alexander? Her voice emerged tentative, fragile, like something that might shatter if handled roughly. His throat constricted. He managed a nod, words temporarily beyond his capability. She approached, extending her hand with formal precision. "I'm Sophia. Apologies for my tardiness. The public transportation system experienced delays." They shook hands. Hers felt frozen. She'd probably walked blocks to economize on bus fare. None of the previous women had apologized. None had mentioned public transportation. They'd arrived in vehicles or rideshare services, expecting him to compensate for their convenience. "Don't apologize," Alexander managed, his voice emerging rougher than intended. "I just arrived myself." A lie. He'd been present for 20 minutes, perspiring, panicking, preparing for rejection number 12. Sophia settled into the chair opposite him, surveying the menu with an expression that Alexander had learned to interpret with devastating accuracy. She was calculating, evaluating prices against her available resources, deciding, "Just water suits me fine," she declared with a smile that failed to reach her eyes. The hot chocolate here is exceptional, Alexander suggested carefully. Water's genuinely adequate. Really? Another falsehood. He observed it in her eyes. The desire, the denial, the practiced self-deprivation that characterized genuine poverty. I'm ordering one regardless, Alexander stated. It feels peculiar drinking alone. Please? Sophia hesitated, clearly warring between wanting and not wanting to burden him financially. Finally, okay, thank you. That's genuinely kind. He ordered 2 large hot chocolates, extra whipped cream. Damn the expense. When he returned bearing them, Sophia's entire countenance transformed, like he'd presented diamonds instead of a $4 beverage. Oh my God, she whispered after the initial sip, eyes closing in genuine pleasure. This is magnificent. I haven't consumed hot chocolate and I can't even remember. Why not? She appeared embarrassed. Budget considerations. It's not a necessity, so. But it was necessary. Alexander recognized it in her expression. Every small pleasure mattered when you possessed nothing. Every tiny luxury became something profound. Just like his mother. Just like him before the billions. Just like real existence for people who actually struggled. Tell me about yourself, he requested, and Sophia talked. She described working dual positions, about student loans that metastasized faster than she could attack them, about dreaming of working exclusively at the library but requiring the janitorial income to survive. She maintained brutal honesty. She didn't camouflage for poverty or pretend it didn't inflict pain. Sorry, she said after 10 minutes of monologue. I'm rambling incessantly. You probably think I'm a catastrophe. I think you're courageous, Alexander responded, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. Most people camouflage their struggles. You're honest about them. What's the point of deception? Sophia asked, her eyes finding his with unsettling directness. If someone can't accommodate my reality, better to discover it immediately, correct? Alexander felt something fracture inside his chest. Guilt. Shame. Because he was deceiving, right now, to this honest, exhausted, beautiful woman who deserved truth. But he didn't confess. Not yet. Not when everything felt so perfect. They conversed for 2 hours. The coffee establishment staff initiated cleaning rituals around them. Neither noticed. I think they're encouraging our departure, Sophia finally observed, checking her timepiece. Oh, no. It's nearly 10. I have morning employment. Me too. Delivery routes. Really? That's demanding work. It compensates the bills, barely. More lies. Each one a stone in his pocket, each one pulling him downward. They walked to her bus stop together. The night had grown bitter. Sophia's coat appeared inadequate. She shivered, but didn't complain. This was pleasant, she said at the stop. Usually blind dates are terrible. So you're suggesting this one wasn't terrible? Sophia smiled, genuinely this time. This one was excellent. Really excellent. Alexander's heart performed something impossible. Stopped, restarted, stopped again. Can we do this again? I'd like that. But I should warn you, I'm genuinely impoverished, like embarrassingly so. I can't afford expensive dates, so if that's problematic, it's not. The words erupted too rapidly, too desperately. I'm broke too. We'll figure it out together. Okay, then. Sophia appeared relieved, happy. Like he'd just presented her the world instead of agreeing to cheap dates. Her bus materialized, she waved from the window, and Alexander stood there watching until the bus disappeared, knowing he was in trouble. Deep, terrifying, wonderful trouble. Because he was falling in love with Sophia, with her honesty, with everything she was. And he was still lying to her. With everything she was. And he was still lying to her. 3 months evaporated like fevered dreams. Alexander and Sophia fell in love in parks and cheap restaurants. They had picnic dates with homemade sandwiches that Sophia prepared with care that made Alexander's chest ache. They watched films at her minuscule apartment because theaters cost too much. They walked for hours because it was free, and they could talk without interruption. Sophia made him happier than he'd ever been. She laughed at his jokes, listened when he talked, made him feel seen in ways wealth never could. And every day, the lies grew heavier, more suffocating, more impossible to maintain. "I love you," Sophia declared one night, curled against him on her decrepit couch. "Is that insane? 3 months and I'm already in love?" "I love you too," Alexander whispered. And he did, desperately, completely, with every atom of his being. "Move in with me." Sophia sat up abruptly. "What? Alex, we can't, that's too rapid." "My landlord is increasing rent. I need a roommate regardless. We could split costs. Make it work together. Please?" All lies. Alexander didn't have a landlord. He owned a penthouse worth millions, but Sophia's building was being sold. She was approaching homelessness, and he couldn't watch that happen. So he lied bigger, rented a modest apartment, furnished it like a struggling delivery driver would, created an entire fabricated existence. Sophia moved in a week later. All her possessions fit in 7 boxes. 7 boxes for an entire life. It devastated Alexander's heart. "This is perfect," she said, surveying the modest space with genuine happiness. "I can't believe we get to do this, build a life together." Alexander held her and felt like the worst person alive, because she was building on lies, and eventually, lies always collapse. But not yet. Please, not yet. The truth detonated 4 months later, on a Tuesday, during the most catastrophically wrong moment possible. Sophia arrived home early. Alexander was out on deliveries, actually at his genuine office, managing a crisis. His real phone rang, the one he'd hidden. Sophia heard it, found it, answered it. "Mr. Chen? Sir, we need your approval on the merger, but wait, who is this?" Sophia's hands went numb. Mr. Chen. Chen Industries. The technology empire worth billions. The company that... She ended the call. Walked to the closet on legs that felt like they might collapse. Found the suits hidden in the back. The briefcase. The business cards that couldn't be real but were. Alexander Chen. CEO, Chen Industries. The room spun, her legs gave out. She sat on the floor holding a business card, and her entire world shattered into fragments so small she'd never be able to reconstruct them. Everything was a lie. Everything. The cheap apartment, the struggling delivery driver, the man she'd fallen in love with, none of it was real. She sat there until the door opened. "Sophia? You're home early?" Alexander stopped, saw her on the floor, saw the business card in her hand, saw his world ending in real time. "Oh, God! Who are you?" Sophia's voice was dead. Empty. "Tell me who you are. Sophia, I can explain. Who are you?" She stood up, and Alexander saw rage in her eyes he'd never witnessed before. "Tell me the truth. For once in your lying life, tell me the truth." "My name is Alexander Chen. I'm a billionaire, CEO of Chen Industries, and I'm so sorry." Sophia laughed. It was a terrible sound. Broken, bitter, destroyed. "You're sorry? You're sorry? Everything was a lie. This apartment, your job, your entire existence." "My feelings weren't a lie," Alexander said desperately. "Sophia, I love you. That was real. That was always real. How can I believe anything you say? How can I trust a single word?" Tears poured down her face now. "Why? Why did you do this?" "Because everyone else wanted my money." The words exploded from somewhere primal. 11 women before you. I went to 11 blind dates pretending to be poor, and every single one rejected me the moment they thought I had nothing. Every single one wanted the billionaire, but not the man. And then I met you. "So you tested me? Like some kind of experiment?" At first, yes, but Sophia, you were different. You wanted me when you thought I had nothing. You didn't care about wealth, you cared about me. And his voice shattered completely. I wanted to know what that felt like, to be loved for myself. So you built an entire fabricated existence? Sophia grabbed her coat. You rented this apartment, bought cheap clothes, lied every single day for 7 months? I was going to tell you, I swear. When? Tomorrow? Next year? Never? When were you planning to tell me, Alexander? He had no answer, because he didn't know. That's what I thought. Sophia's voice went quiet, deadly. You know what destroys me most? I fell in love with someone who doesn't exist. The kind, honest, humble man I loved was fake. Just another lie. Sophia, please. Don't. She held up her hand. I can't even look at you right now. I need to leave. I need to think. I need to figure out what was real and what was just you playing pretend in my life. Where will you go? Away from you, away from this, away from the biggest mistake I've ever made. She walked out, and Alexander stood in his fake apartment, surrounded by his fabricated existence, and realized he'd destroyed the only real thing he had ever had. Sophia went to her best friend Rachel's apartment, cried until she couldn't breathe, told her everything. He's a billionaire? Rachel's eyes were enormous. The Alexander Chen? You're missing the point, Sophia sobbed. He lied for 7 months. Everything was fake. But were his feelings fake?
Sophia stopped crying. What? His feelings, were they fake? Because, Sophia, you've told me about him. How he listened, how he held you, how he looked at you like you were the only person in existence. You can't fake that. Not for 7 months. I don't know, Sophia whispered. I don't know what was real anymore. But over the next week, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Couldn't stop remembering moments. The way Alexander smiled when she laughed. The way he held her at night like she was precious. The way he cried when she told him about her father's death. Could someone fake all that? For 7 months? Every day? Every moment? Or had some of it been real? Finally, a week later, she called him. I want to talk. Your real home, not the fake apartment. I want to see where you actually live. Okay. Alexander's voice was raw, like he'd been crying for days. I'll send a car. I'll take the bus. Sophia, please. It's 45 minutes away. Let me send a car, please. She agreed because she was tired, exhausted, done. The Mercedes arrived with a driver in formal attire. Sophia felt underdressed in her jeans and old coat, but she got in regardless. They drove through neighborhoods that got progressively more expensive until they reached a building that looked like it touched the clouds. The penthouse elevator required a key. Sophia rode up, her heart in her throat. What would she find? Who was the real Alexander Chen? The doors opened into a space so vast Sophia gasped. Floor-to-ceiling windows, designer furniture, art that probably cost millions. Everything perfect, everything expensive, everything empty. And in the middle of it all, looking lost and small despite the massive space, was Alexander. He wore expensive clothes now. No more fake delivery driver costume. This was the real him, the billionaire, the CEO, a stranger. Hi, he said quietly. Hi, Sophia managed. They stood there, neither knowing what to say. The silence stretched like broken glass between them. This is where I really live, Alexander finally said. 8,000 square feet, 3 bedrooms I never use. Everything money can buy and nothing that matters. It's been empty for 5 years, Sophia. Empty and cold and lonely. Until I met you. Don't, Sophia's voice cracked. Don't try to make me feel sorry for you. You're rich. You have everything. Except you. Alexander moved closer. Sophia, I know I destroyed your trust. I know lying was unforgivable, but please understand. When I was with you, I wasn't the CEO. I wasn't the billionaire. I was just Alex, just a person. And I haven't felt like just a person in 10 years. You had no right, Sophia said, her voice shaking. No right to test me, to lie to me, to build a relationship on fabricated foundations. You're absolutely correct. And I have no excuse except fear. Fear that if you knew the truth, you'd want me for the wrong reasons. Fear that I'd never know if you loved me or my money. Fear that I'd end up alone forever. So you chose to lie instead. Yes, and it was wrong, and I'm sorry. Sorrier than I've ever been about anything. Alexander's eyes filled with tears. Sophia, losing you is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Worse than when my father abandoned me. Worse than any business failure. Worse than anything. Because you were real. In a life full of fake smiles and fake friends and people who want things from me, you were real. Sophia felt her anger wavering. How can I trust you now? How can I believe anything? I don't know, Alexander admitted, but I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. I'll be so honest it hurts. I'll tell you every uncomfortable truth. I'll never lie again, not even about small things. Please, Sophia, please give me another chance. I need time. Time to think, time to figure out if I can forgive this. Take all the time you need. I'll wait. Forever if I have to. Sophia turned to leave, then stopped at the elevator. One question. Anything. Do you actually love me, the real me? Or did you love the idea of someone who didn't want your money? Alexander crossed the room in 3 strides, took her hands, looked into her eyes with such intensity she couldn't breathe. I love how you laugh at terrible jokes. I love how you make sandwiches with care. I love how you see the good in everything. I love how you're honest even when it hurts. I love how you held me when I cried. I love how you make me want to be better. I love you, Sophia Martinez. Not the idea of you, you. And if you walk away right now, I'll still love you for the rest of my life. Sophia felt tears on her cheeks. I need time. I'll wait. She left, and Alexander stood alone in his empty pet house, hoping against hope that she'd come back. 2 weeks passed like years. Then Sophia called. Coffee shop. Tomorrow at 7. I'll be there. Alexander's hands shook with hope and terror in equal measure. He arrived 30 minutes early, ordered 2 hot chocolates, sat in the corner booth where everything had started. 7 o'clock came, then 7:05, then 7:10. Alexander's heart sank. She wasn't coming. She'd changed her mind. The door opened. Sophia walked in. She looked tired, thinner, like the past 2 weeks had hurt her as much as they had hurt him. She sat down without a word, looked at the hot chocolate waiting, looked at him. I've been thinking about what's real and what's fake, about trust and lies, about whether love can survive betrayal. Alexander couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, could only wait for the verdict that would determine his entire future. I can't just forgive you, Sophia continued. Trust isn't rebuilt in one conversation. But I also can't deny that what we had felt real, that you made me happier than I've ever been, that when you held me at night, I felt safe in ways I've never felt safe. Hope flickered in Alexander's chest, tiny, fragile, desperate. So here's what's going to happen. Sophia pulled out a piece of paper. Rules. If we are going to try again, we do it with rules. Total honesty about everything. You introduce me to your real life, your friends, your family, your work. I meet the real Alexander Chen, not the fake delivery driver. And we go slow, really slow. We rebuild from scratch. Yes! Alexander grabbed her hands across the table. Yes to all of it! Whatever you need, whatever it takes. And if you lie to me again about anything, even small things, we're done. Forever. No second chances. Do you understand? I understand. I swear, Sophia. No more lies. Ever. Sophia looked at him for a long moment, then picked up her hot chocolate, took a sip, set it down. Okay, let's try again. But Alexander, if you break my heart a second time, I'll never forgive you. I won't. I'll spend the rest of my life earning your trust back. They sat there in that coffee shop, drinking hot chocolate, starting over. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real. Finally, completely, painfully real. And that was all that mattered.